Hey everybody, Chris Coonahan here for Leaf Filter. I often give homeowners advice on TV, but I wanted to share my expertise here too. The question I'm most often asked is, how does Leaf Filter work so well? Well, our trusted pros clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system. Leaf Filter inspection and estimate are always free for new customers. Plus, you can get up to 30% off if you go to leaffilter.com/gold. That's leaffilter.com/gold.
See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. 1 discount per household.
The body of Dylan Rounds has been found. Brenner pleaded guilty to second-degree murder.
The man convicted is a violent career criminal. Why was he roaming the streets free? There's a known criminal, a violent criminal, somebody that's been involved with attempted murder, living right here.
With an active felony warrant for aggravated assault.
Had they locked him up, could Dylan still be here? That's the question.
19-year-old Dylan Rounds had a sweet smile and disposition to match. His mom says he had a work ethic you just don't find in most young people today. He cared more about working on his farm than playing video games. That farm that he had worked so hard to buy is also where he mysteriously vanished and where his parents believe he was brutally murdered. The man convicted is a violent career criminal who, despite a laundry list of convictions, was walking free on the same streets as this innocent teen.
This is Dylan Rounds, and he is currently missing out of Lucin, Utah, and his family needs your help if you're from the Idaho, Utah, Nevada area.
Some breaking news in the Dylan Rounds case. James Brenner, the man who was squatting on property near Dylan's farm out in Lucin, Utah, was charged today with murder. James Brenner is charged with aggravated murder and desecration of a human body. He limped into the courtroom wearing an orange jumpsuit, handcuffs, and cuffs around his ankles. We have some breaking news to bring you right now. The body of Dylan Rounds has been found. Dylan Rounds, his remains have been found in the remote area of Lucin, Utah. As part of a plea agreement, Brenner led the investigators out to the site where the remains were, and they have been recovered. Brenner will serve 3 to 30 years in prison for killing the young man from Idaho and dumping his body in the remote Utah desert. Brenner pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and 2 counts of possession of a firearm by a restricted person. Brenner had nothing to say during the sentencing hearing today.
Brenner had an outstanding warrant for allegedly beating a man with a lawn chair. He had also served time for attempted murder. Why was he roaming the streets free? Across America, woke lawmakers, mayors, prosecutors, and judges have lost control of their towns and cities. They're implementing no cash bail and not holding convicted criminals accountable.
Chaotic scenes from Oakland, California, a city now notorious for its violent crime. Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao, who's been in office just 1 year, already facing a recall from dissatisfied voters. Police say they're working alongside community members and law enforcement partners at all levels to deploy resources strategically to combat criminal activity.
A violent carjacking spree, the latest senseless crime to rock the nation's capital. Mohammed, a Grubhub delivery driver, has seen and experienced enough. Many blame what they see as lenient laws that put repeat offenders back on the street, as well as a drop in arrests and prosecutions.
Well, that is all too typical. The justice system has seemingly gone soft. It is putting perpetrators' rights ahead of victim rights. When you look at Dylan's photo, you may be reminded of your own sons. His mother, Candice, says her child paid the price of our country's flawed justice system with his life. And all she has left of him is a pair of his blood-stained boots.
My son is Dylan Jamie Rounds. At the age of 18, Dylan was able to purchase 620 acres to start his own farm. That's how passionate he was about it. He was a very hardworking kid. From the time he was little, that's what he wanted to do. He wasn't your typical teenager. Dylan was last seen on May 26, 2022. He spoke with his grandmother on May 28th. Dylan was moving his truck to the shed because it was raining. The property that the shed is on is also where James Brenner was squatting. On May 30th, we found out that nobody in the family had spoken to Dylan, so we all headed to his farm, and I reported him missing on the way to his farm. When we got to Dylan's farm, it was so unusual that he was not around. We knew there was something off. It was the beginning of a nightmare immediately. 2 hours into the search and rescue called Justin and I over, Dylan's father, because they'd found a pair of boots behind a dirt mound. We both looked at those boots and looked at each other, and our hearts dropped. We knew instantly they were Dylan's boots. There was a spot on them that appeared to be blood. James Brenner moved over after Dylan had already purchased his land and started working it. He was not the type of man that would make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. Come to find out about James Brenner, he has a violent past that stretches from Maine to Nevada and back to Utah. He served time for attempted murder before. After finding out about James Brenner's violent past, everything made a little more sense in our son's disappearance. It felt like I should have known. As a mother, you feel like you should know. Brenner had a felony arrest warrant in Box Elder County from 2021. I get very frustrated with knowing these criminals that are walking free because warrants are not executed, and that is what led to our son's homicide.
Well, joining me now is Dylan's mother, Candice Cooley, as well as Nate Eaton, a reporter for East Idaho News, who has been covering this case from the ground since day one. Thank you both for being here. And Candice, I'm glad to meet you, but I'm really sorry for the circumstances.
Right. Yes.
It was May 28th, 2022, that Dylan called his grandmother, right?
Correct.
And that was the last time anyone heard from him.
Correct. He tried to call James Brenner after he hung up with his grandma, but he didn't answer to let him know he was bringing the truck onto the property.
Okay. You say that the investigation has just been a nightmare.
Yeah, I would say lack of investigation. On the first day is when Dylan's boots were found. The very first day, and they were literally thrown on the back of a side-by-side, and everybody shrugged their shoulders and just kept moseying around.
Really?
Yeah, it was an hour and a half into the search and rescue found him. And the search and rescue team was amazing, right? That's when the sheriffs that were there should have taken over, with blood on his boots especially.
But they didn't.
No, and they were talking to Brenner and just moseying around. It was so strange.
Nate, is this just lack of resources, small town lack of urgency? Why did this get off to such a slow and bad start?
I think it's a little bit of that, what you mentioned. Think about a kid disappearing in the middle of nowhere. This is a desert. Nobody's out there. He disappears. 2 or 3 days go by. Candice contacts me as a news company and says, please do something. Get the word out. My son is gone. Then they find his boots by a pile of dirt, and on those boots is blood. I mean, you would think that the urgency there would have been escalated a little bit, but still, nothing.
You know, here's a map of the area, and you're saying that Brenner was kind of squatting on this land, right?
Correct.
He had a camper here, and how far is it to here behind this rock that his boots were found? What's that distance across there?
It's not very far, maybe 70 yards, and it's a big dirt mound is what it is.
Okay, so all they have to do is punch up one thing to discover that there's a known criminal, a violent criminal, somebody that's been involved with attempted murder.
With an active felony warrant for aggravated assault in the county of Box Elder.
But yet nobody says,
No.
might want to talk to this person.
Oh, they talked to him like he was their friend.
Okay.
It wasn't even about questions about like, when's the last time you seen Dylan, really stuff like that. It was like general chit chat about the weather, and it was bizarre.
Wow. All right, well, let's take a break. Coming up, Dylan's parents say that after he disappeared, they watched the convicted felon who lived next door, 70 yards from where the boots were found, remove trash bags from their son's truck We'll talk about what that's all about next. Whether it's talk of a Nobel Peace Prize or fears of World War III, one thing's certain: uncertainty rules the day. And when the world feels this unstable, your finances are on the line. If Iran blocks the Strait of Hormuz, oil prices could skyrocket just like the 1970s. That triggered inflation, gas shortages, and a weakening dollar. Wall Street's already tense. Goldman Sachs sees sustained recession risk, and JP Morgan warns of a potential oil shock. Add in $36 trillion in national debt, and the financial pressure is real. This isn't hype, it's a wake-up call. The time to act is now. That's why I trust Preserve Gold. When the world turns unstable, smart folks turn to gold and silver. Text Dr. Phil to 50505 to get your free precious metals guide from Preserve Gold. As a bonus, you can get up to $15,000 in free silver with a qualified purchase. So don't wait. Text Dr. Phil to 50505 today. I used to sleep terribly, but I found Beam's Dream Powder, a science-backed, healthy nighttime blend packed with ingredients shown to improve sleep. Beam is founded in America and run by people who share our values of hard work. Their Dream Powder is made with a powerful blend of all-natural ingredients: reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin. Here's the deal. Beam is giving my listeners the ultimate Patriot discount of up to 40% off. Try their best sleeping dream powder and get up to 40% off for a limited time. Go to shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil for up to 40% off. Sleep better, wake up stronger, and show up ready for your family, your work, and your country. Because when you're well rested, you're unstoppable. And this country needs more people like that.
Last night it was announced, it was filed that James Brenner, a man from North Dakota originally, is charged with one count of aggravated murder, a first-degree felony in Utah, and one count of abuse or desecration of a human body, a third-degree felony. On or about May 28th, 2022, the defendant did, one, intentionally or knowingly cause the death of another. James Brenner has a violent history. He has faced charges elsewhere. He's been in jail on a firearms violation because he's a convicted felon. Count 2, abuse or desecration of a human body, a third-degree felony that on or about May 28th, 2022, the defendant did intentionally and unlawfully disturb, move, remove, conceal, or destroy a dead human body or any part of it.
Well, tonight, a man with a lengthy criminal history has been convicted with the murder of Utah teen Dylan Rounds. This is another sad example of why we need to be critical of progressive policies that allow repeat offenders to go free. Dylan's mom says the man not only slipped by law enforcement before Dylan's murder, but also right after. Candice, you saw him removing things from your son's truck, trash bags.
From the shed that his truck was pulled in. June 2nd, James Brenner pulled Dylan's grain truck out of the shed and began removing items from the shed in garbage bags and putting them in the back of his own personal pickup, with law enforcement watching.
And this was after Dylan had disappeared, Dr. Phil. This was several days after the fact.
How was this not part of a crime scene?
So nothing in this whole ordeal, nothing has ever been taped off a crime scene. Not when Dylan's gun came back, not when the key fob came back, not when the boots were found, not when the garbage was removed, never. And so the officer that was with me, he went up and he asked him, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm spring cleaning." Those pictures of that shed were after the supposed spring cleaning. He was cleaning evidence.
He was spring cleaning someone else's shed?
Yeah.
So what are we looking at here? This is inside?
That's the inside. That's after spring cleaning.
So if you're going to spring clean, aren't you going to clean? That doesn't look very clean.
He was taking out specific stuff. Brenner he was a pig. He never cleaned anything. That whole place was full of beer cans from him and garbage. Whatever he was taking out of that shed that day was specifically for a reason.
And one of the things that you're upset about, that I'm upset about, Nate, you're furious about, because I've heard you speak about it, is he had open warrants at this time. And that's what we're talking about. We've got a system that has someone that has a violent history, and he's out on the street, and the best predictor of future behavior is relevant past behavior, and he has a history of assault, attempted murder charges, but he's out walking around and nobody knows it. On June 3rd, as far back as '86, 2 counts of assault with intent to murder, possession of a deadly weapon. Now, the outcome of that arrest is unknown.
Right.
We can't find that out. About 6 weeks later, assault with intent to murder. Outcome of that arrest is unknown. Then we go to November 1st, maliciously injured and assault with intent to murder, rape, and rob, served 33 months in prison. So we do know the outcome of that one. So within a year, 1, 2, 3 different entries on his record, all alleging violence. And one, he serves 33 months in prison. Then we jump 2 years, violation of probation. So he's offended again. Outcome of that arrest, unknown. So that's in Maryland. Okay, now we go to North Dakota. June 16, 2002, DUI, pled guilty. June 15, 2011, assault misdemeanor, that got dismissed. March 20, 2017, failed to yield at an intersection, fugitive from justice, probation with malicious shooting, outcome of arrest, unknown. February 20th, 21, aggravated assault, 3rd-degree felony, paid bail, released on outdated warrant.
So that warrant was not a paid bail. He was arrested on that on February 11th, and they did release him on his own. He was back out on the property within hours. And they had it in April of 2021. The judge had amended it and said if you don't appear before such date at Box Elder, it goes to a non-bondable warrant. And so you have Box Elder who finally arrests him on June 11th, and then you have Box Elder court system who doesn't even read their own paperwork that says it's non-bondable and just immediately lets him out on his own recognizance to go back to the place where my son was murdered.
And that was a year before Dylan disappeared.
The warrant was issued.
That's your tax dollars at work.
Had they locked him up and put him behind bars on the non-bailable warrant, could Dylan still be here? That's the question.
That is the question. Well, coming up, investigators retrieved Dylan's phone from the bottom of a pond. On it, they found a horrifying recording. We'll tell you what it was when we come back.
I've had a lot of people text me. Just last night I was texting some people, and they're trying to help, and I think they are, but a lot of them out there don't want to talk to the police.
You don't want to use all of your time to chase down all these rabbit holes.
We have been a lot, and I will, but I'd like some help with law enforcement to look into when they hear some things, it seems like they just think it's nothing.
That has been a problem. We have had some stuff that actually needed to be looked into that they've called into Box Elder and they don't get a response.
We had no idea what to do or where to go. We've never done this before.
Yeah, and we didn't have help from law enforcement. I mean, it's like we said, we are not exaggerating when we say they left us in the desert.
The parents of Dylan Rounds have been desperate for answers since their son mysteriously vanished in 2022. But they do have a video recovered from his cell phone, and it reveals some very telling information about what may have happened to him.
A digital forensic download of the phone was conducted and led to the discovery of a time-lapse video. The video showed defendant with blood stains on his arms and shirt as he's cleaning a gun. So Dylan's phone recorded, according to this, James Brenner cleaning a gun, and Brenner had blood stains on his arms and on his shirt. Was the phone purposely turned on? Did James Brenner turn it on? Did James Brenner not know it was turned on? Did Dylan somehow, before he died, turn the phone on and record a long video? I mean, that is a needle in a haystack type of evidence.
Candice, have you seen that video?
No.
And you don't want to see that?
Nope, I have no reason to.
What is the impact it has on you at this point?
Well, there's a couple ways I've looked at it. If things went the way they should have in the beginning, we probably would have had Dylan in a matter of days. I honestly feel like we were probably walking over him before Box Elder removed us from the property. But if that would have happened, it wouldn't have brought my son back, right? And so now we have this fight for Dylan so that we can change laws and make a difference, because just getting Dylan back, that doesn't change anything. It's going to continue to happen to other families until people stand up. And you don't know if the person sitting next to you is a violent criminal. You don't know if they have a warrant, and with law enforcement not doing their job. And then when they do, the justice system working against them and just releasing them, what does it do just to say we could have had Dylan back? Let's make a change.
It's not unusual. The killer will try to trade the information for some lesser sentence or certainly some consideration. Do you think Brenner has or will try to make that kind of a trade?
We will not make a trade that gives that man any chance of getting out. People see him, that one video that Nate filmed when he went to court with us, that he looks weak and he's meek and it's all an act. The man is strong. And he's a big burly guy. Yeah, he's lost weight because he's in jail, but the limp and the twitching eye, it's all an act. If he is let out, even in 15 years, he's gonna turn to crime, right? Because he doesn't have any family, he doesn't have anybody to go to. He's gonna get stuck in a halfway house, and then he's gonna go harm somebody else to get what he wants. And we will not make a deal with the devil.
We talk about this progressive court system where the basic argument from that point of view is that the system has failed the criminal. But we have to talk about whether criminals will reoffend or not. And according to the U.S. Bureau of Justice, 52% of people on probation in 2020 were felons. And federal offenders with violent priors are more likely to recidivate than nonviolent. And 53% of people arrested for murder had prior convictions. And 67% of federal violent offenders who are released get rearrested. So that's 2/3. And has the system failed these people in some way? Maybe it has. But my point is, you have to suppress the behavior before you try to rebuild the individual. It may be that the system has failed them, but you cannot take these people and release them on an unsuspecting, innocent society without telling anybody and expect there to be a good outcome. You have to suppress the behavior unless and until you are at a position where you can say, I can predict they're not going to reoffend. And unless you have empirical data to say that, you are turning known predators out onto innocent people. This is not hard math. Coming up, Candice says she searched her son's truck and home herself, and what she found chilled her to the bone. That's next. Homeowners, when's the last time you checked on your home title? If your answer is never, then this is for you. Scammers are stealing titles and your equity is the target. Criminals forge your signature, and just like that, your home title can be transferred out of your name. That's why I partnered with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim. Use my promo code Phil at HometitleLock.com and you'll get a free title history report. Plus, you'll get a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts to any changes, and if fraud does happen, They'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code Phil.
On the first day of the search, we broke out the back window of Dylan's pickup to try to locate his guns. Neither of them were inside the pickup. From there, we searched the camper thoroughly, and there was no gun or key fob to Dylan's pickup. But the gun came back and was laying on the bathroom counter in plain sight. And my heart sank again. How did it come back? We knew whoever had harmed our son was out there searching with us, and it was so disturbing and eerie to look around at everybody and think, who was it? It began to feel like a game of Clue.
Okay, Candice, you actually went in and dug around, and you know your son,
Yeah.
and you know what's his pattern and what's not, and what he does. What did you find?
We specifically were looking for his guns, like we said, so Dylan's father, Justin, broke out the back window of the pickup because his pickup was locked, which is totally just another, like, red flag. Dylan never locked it, and his pistol was always right there next to him on the door, but his clip was always in the center console. Neither were there. So we went in the camper and searched everywhere. On his bathroom sink was his gun case. And, you know, you're just talking a little camper bathroom sink. So I opened it, I looked, medicine cabinet, we tear the whole thing apart, nothing. The next day we got sent down a rabbit hole and we all went to Montello. And that would have been Tuesday. On Wednesday, Dylan's little brother and best friend went into his camper and they called and said, do you want me to bring you Dylan's pistol? And I was like, what? Now, mind you, they did not know we were looking for it because they didn't enter until later. They had no clue we were looking for his guns. And it was laying right there by the gun case with the clip out of it on the bathroom counter. And Dylan never would have taken that out of his pickup, ever. So we bagged it up and it just, we were so distraught and we were, you know, no help, no guidance. And so we're all just kind of running through scenarios in our head, like who did this? We had a bunch of the locals out. So at that time it kind of spanned that, you know, there's 15, 20 locals out there helping us. It could be any of them. So Detective Blauer and I went out to Dylan's camper. We took pictures of where the gun was found. And then the next day we go out and we're in and out of Dylan's camper. We were just everywhere. We were desperate, right? Did we miss something? And the key fob to Dylan's pickup is sitting in the same exact place. And at that point, that just kind of confirmed everything to me.
So somebody brought those items back. Mm-hmm. You're there, you looked in that spot, mm-hmm. and you don't miss a gun.
No, especially when you're specifically looking for it. And like I said, then we have the proof from the sheriff's office because they took pictures the next day, key fobs in the same exact spot.
The other interesting thing too, Dr. Phil, is this is out in the desert. It's dusty, but there had been a bunch of rain, so it was muddy. Dylan's truck was power washed.
Yeah.
It was completely clean except the wheel.
2 wheel wells. They missed 2 wheel wells when they cleaned it. And Dylan did not wash his pickup. In fact, my husband has a picture of his phone that my son sent that said, it was like October 2020. It said, first time I washed my pickup since I bought it, and he bought it like almost a year ago. I mean, completely just, and you could see the pressure washer marks. Yeah. And it was in 4-wheel drive, and his transfer case was broken. He cussed it all the time. He'd never put his pickup in 4-low, and he couldn't even got in where the seat was. His knees would have hit the dash. He couldn't even got in. So there, you know, it just, everything was just adding up. So that Sunday on June 5th, we were trying to figure out what to do. And so I texted Box Elder detective and I said, hey, should we take Dylan's pickup home? What should we do? And I got told, you folks do what you need to do. And I still have that message on my phone to this day. That's what I was told.